Lads and lasses, hold on to this one. Newcastle might just be about to surprise the whole football world again, even with a transfer window already closed. Yes, there's still a way we could change the squad, and I'll explain everything to you. But hang on, because before that big bombshell at the end, there are two massive stories you need to hear first, and one of them involved the club's owner and Alexander Isak. So stick with me until the very end, because the main story of the day, the one you saw in the title and the thumbnail, is going to blow your mind. I'm Rodrigo, and you're watching Newcastle Mania, the channel made by a supporter for supporters who live and breathe Newcastle United. You blinked, and Newcastle were already making headlines everywhere. Today I've got 3 stories that hit straight at the heart of every Magpie, and the last one is the most important. The 14 free agents that the club can still bring in. But before that, let's dive into the first 2 pieces of news that you definitely don't want to miss. And hey, let me just say this. The other day, Chelsea fans were in the comments saying this channel won't grow because Newcastle's fan base is too small. Well, shall we show them who the black and white army really are? If you love Newcastle and want to see this club flying higher and higher, hit that subscribe button right now. It costs nothing, and it makes all the difference. Let's shut them up together. News 1. Jamie Rubin, the £250 million window and Isak's exit. Let's kick things off by talking about the people pulling the strings behind the scenes. Jamie Rubin, one of Newcastle's co-owners, has finally broken his silence after what has to be one of the most intense, and let's be honest, one of the most expensive transfer windows in our history. Over £250 million has been spent on reinforcements, a figure that puts Newcastle right up there with the biggest spenders in Europe this season. But it wasn't just about arrivals. We also had to face one of the most shocking and painful departures of recent years, Alexander Isak leaving St James Park for Liverpool in a record-breaking £130 million move. A transfer that split the fan base right down the middle. Sadness and frustration at losing our star striker, but also the hope that the money would spark a proper rebuild of the squad. And reinforcements. There were plenty. Up front, we brought in Nick Woltemade and Yoane Wissa, 2 players who aren't just here to fill gaps, but to push for starting spots. Alongside them, some huge names, Aaron Ramsdale, a proven Premier League goalkeeper ready to claim the #1 shirt, Jacob Ramsey, one of England's brightest young midfielders, Malik Thiaw, a rock-solid defender, and Anthony Elanga, lightning quick and creative, adding fresh attacking options. Put it all together, and honestly, it looks like a brand new Newcastle United stepping out onto the pitch. Jamie Rubin didn't hide his excitement either. In his words, he's delighted and called this window transformational for the club. And you know what? He's not wrong. For 3 straight windows, Newcastle kept things quieter, largely because of the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. Now, finally, the owners have delivered a proper statement of intent. Exactly what the Saudi-backed project has been promising, aiming to place us firmly among Europe's elite. On the footballing side, Eddie Howe has had his say as well. The gaffer admitted the window was historic and praised the board for their huge effort, but he kept his feet firmly on the ground. Howe pointed out that there's now competition in almost every single position, something he sees as vital to keep standards high. But he also issued a warning: a busy window doesn't guarantee results. The real work begins again, on the pitch. And right now, Newcastle are still searching for that elusive first win of the season, which is weighing heavily on players and fans alike. So, in short, Jamie Rubin is celebrating the financial power play, Eddie Howe is asking for calm and focus, and the supporters are left buzzing with anticipation to see this new-look Newcastle come alive. £250 million invested, a squad reshaped from top to bottom, and the painful exit of Isak paving the way for it all. Now the big question is, will this revolution translate into victories and trophies where it really matters? On the pitch? News 2, Jacob Ramsey and the injury scare. Our second big story of the day is all about one of the most talked about names since the summer window, Jacob Ramsey. The midfielder arrived from Aston Villa for around £39 million, a deal that made headlines not just in England but across Europe too. And straight away, he was handed his first start against Leeds. Everything seemed to be going well, until the scare came. Ramsey took a heavy knock on his ankle and was forced off at halftime. The mood inside St James Park shifted immediately. After all, you don't spend nearly £40 million on a young, exciting talent who's thrown straight into the starting 11 only to see him limp off on his full debut. Fans feared the worst, a serious injury that could keep him sidelined for weeks, maybe even months. But thankfully, Ramsey himself moved quickly to calm everyone down. Not long after the match, he went on Instagram to say he's confident he'll be ready right after the international break for that huge Premier League clash against Wolves. That post was a massive relief, not only for the fans, but also for Eddie Howe, who views Ramsey as a key piece in the rebuild of Newcastle's midfield. Howe believed the young Englishman can grow into a nailed-on starter, the kind of player who sets the tempo and drives the team forward for years to come. Ramsey has the talent, the vision, the energy, and, maybe most importantly, the youth that perfectly fits the long-term project at St. James Park. And the good news doesn't stop there. Another big worry recently was Joe Linton, who picked up a knock and raised fears of a long spell on the sidelines. But inside the club, the word is positive. The Brazilian should also be back in time for Wolves. That means Howe could welcome two huge reinforcements in midfield at once, a boost that could completely change the balance of the team. On top of that, the new signings Nick Woltemade and Yoane Wissa are already available to make their debuts. So when football returns after the break, we could be looking at a Newcastle side with a fresh-looking midfield, a renewed attack, and a real chance to finally grab that first win of the season. The buzz among the fans is growing. Many believe that with Ramsey fit, Joe Linton back, and new firepower up front, this Newcastle side can finally kick on after what's been a tricky start. Of course, injuries always spark nerves, especially with a big-money arrival like Ramsey, but the quick update from him and the positive signs around Joe Linton have turned worry into genuine hope. So to sum it all up, those fans who left Ellen Road anxious can breathe a little easier. Ramsey doesn't look like a long-term concern, Joe Linton is on track to return, and Howe will soon have almost all his midfield options back on pitch. Add in the fresh attacking talent, and the stage is set for the Magpies to come back after the break with a bang. Main story of the day, the 14 free agents. Right then, lads, it's time for the bombshell every Newcastle fan has been waiting for. The transfer window might be shut, the market might be closed for most clubs, but for Newcastle, the story isn't over. There's still a door wide open that could completely change the course of our season. The free agent market. That's right. Players without a club can still be signed, and Chronicle has put together a list of no fewer than 14 names who are currently available and could walk straight through the doors of St. James Park. And this isn't just any list. We're talking about big names, experienced Premier League players, and even a few who've already worn our black and white shirt. At left back, this is one of the hottest topics because Lewis Hall is still recovering from injury. Dan Burn and Tino Livramento can fill in, but let's be honest, we could do with more depth and security there. Among the names, the standout is Sergio Reguilón, former Tottenham and Manchester United man, valued at over €6 million despite being a free agent right now. Then you've got Juan Bernat, who had a top-level spell at PSG, and even Jamal Lewis. Yes, our old mate who left recently but is now free on the market. A return would be surprising, but you never know. Up front, this is the area that really makes fans nervous, especially after losing both Isaac and Callum Wilson. Sure, Woltemade and Wissa have arrived, but if either gets injured or doesn't perform, Howe could be in serious trouble. And that's where some familiar European goal scorers come in. Paco Alcácer, who shone in Spain, Wissam Ben Yedder, the French striker known for his deadly finishing, Patrick Bamford, who's proven himself in the Premier League with Leeds, Michail Antonio, a West Ham hero with power and goals in his locker, and even Emmanuel Dennis, who knows English football inside out. Plenty of options to add depth in what's arguably our most sensitive position right now. In midfield, on paper, we look more secure here, but not entirely. Injuries to Tonali and Joe Linton have raised a red flag, and that's why some interesting names are also floating around. The biggest one, Christian Eriksen, Premier League champion, loads of experience at top clubs, and still capable of pulling strings. Then you've got Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, the former Liverpool man who, despite his injury history, still brings energy and intensity. There's also Josh Brownhill, who stood out for Burnley in the Championship, a versatile player who could definitely help. And let's not forget Josh Da Silva and a few others with proper Premier League experience, all available right now at no transfer cost. What really stands out here is a variety. Players who could walk in for free and, in some cases, make an instant impact. But here's the big question. Will Eddie Howe pull the trigger and bring someone in straight away? Or will he stick with the squad we've just built and wait until January when the window reopens? The fan base is split. Some believe that adding a proven name right now could be the difference in competing at the top of the Premier League and in Europe. Others think signing players without match rhythm could be a risk, and the smarter move is to back the lad we already have and keep stability. One thing for sure though, Newcastle are not out of the market yet. And if a surprise move happens, it could literally be a matter of days before we see a new face walking out at St. James Park. And that, mate, just shows how modern football is way more than 90 minutes on the pitch. Yes, we lost Isaac, but we've added 2 strong forwards and still have a chance to strengthen without spending a penny. Newcastle aren't just becoming a force on the pitch. We're making noise off it too. This club is growing fast. So, over to you, fans. Out of those 14 free agents, who would you like to see at Newcastle? Would you go for someone now, or would you hold tight until January? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, hit subscribe to Newcastle Mania. Smash that bell button and help our black and white community grow stronger. We're pushing for 1,000 subscribers, and together we can show everyone just how massive this fan base really is. I'm Rodrigo. This was another video packed with Newcastle United news, and I'll see you next time, because this season is going to be an absolute thriller.